Renting out your cottage or cabin or country place seems like a smart way to earn some costs, to pay some bills or cover mortgage costs, but it's no longer an option in some parts of the country. Hot cottage areas, including parts of Muskoka and Prince Edward County in Ontario, have just passed bylaws that limit some aspects of cottage rentals. In tiny Ontario, for example, bylaws now limit cottage rentals to a maximum of 92 days a year at a minimum of 6 days at a time. This is changing the market for renting a cottage, whether you're a property owner or you're trying to get away for the weekend. For more on how cottage owners are feeling about the bylaws, we're joined by Glenn Sklowski. He's the founder of the Tiny Township Association of Responsible Hosts. Glenn, thanks for coming in the studio.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, first, how strict are these measures and how have they changed the game for cottage owners?
They're the strictest in the country as far as we know. It's illegal right now to rent a cottage in Tiny for a weekend. So if you want to come up for May 24 with your friends, can't do that. If you want to spend Thanksgiving with your family for a weekend, can't do that as well. Sasquatch tours, prohibited if you want to do that for a weekend. So it's been really tough. And on top of the restrictions themselves, there's a whole host of inspections, warrantless entry, publishing of our information online. So it's been really difficult for us to cover our costs of carrying a cottage.
Some of the reasons behind enacting bylaws like these are around affordable housing. How does that sit with residents who own cottages or recreational properties in Tiny?
Yeah, affordable housing is not really an issue in cottage country. 50% of the houses sit empty 70% of the time. Just they're recreational, right? And so people buy them and they visit them a few weeks a year, and the rest of the time they sit empty. So, you know, a great way of actually filling that capacity would be to allow people to visit and to enjoy Tiny. Whereas right now you're not able to do that. You can't even let your place out for a weekend or for a week sometimes.
In British Columbia, there's also new legislation that bans short-term rentals at secondary investment properties. So is the point of new regulations like these and bylaws being enacted in Tiny, what do you see as the point behind them?
You know, it's hard to say. I think some would say that it's a response to more people coming in during the pandemic, right? We couldn't travel internationally, so a lot of people chose to stay in Ontario and travel locally. And that brought in people that wouldn't necessarily come in years past. But honestly, I don't think that's the case. When we had our conversation with the CEO and the mayor, kind of, you know, we asked the very same question: why are you doing it? And the response was, "This is changing the fabric of our community." And I'm like, I don't know what that means, but you know, to me, it means we don't want people who don't look like us, who don't sound like us, who don't necessarily have the means to afford cottage in the cottage country coming in here. So I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right, and we're challenging that.
You've said that the Tiny Township Association of Responsible Hosts are going to be fighting these bylaws. Correct. What are some of the changes you're asking for? We just want a fair and balanced regime. We've actually provided some input on what we think would be a regulatory regime that would work for everybody. And what are some of those asks?
You know, first, don't limit the number of days. I mean, why would you do that? And then allow weekend rentals, right? And have the township actually step in to promote tourism, to you know, welcome visitors to Tiny. It's a beautiful area of the province. It's got gorgeous beaches, beautiful forests, trails, and whatnot. And so, for the township to actually restrict tourism, it's very short-sighted.
Glenn, I want to thank you for coming in today. And we know that Tiny is a beautiful part of this country because we get a lot of greetings that come into your morning from there. Thanks so much for coming in.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.